Hello everyone, this is Sunny. This video will go over differences from the hard mode. For those who want to challenge TFM, I would say minimum average combat power is around 3400, while I do suggest 3500 or higher to clear the boss. For battle items, bring a dark grenade and time stop. For the last item, feel free to be flexible. As a support, I usually bring a sacred charm or marching flag for the funsies. Most of the patterns are nearly identical to the hard mode, except they are lethal and some have advanced mechanisms. Players will face full meter mech around 14 minutes and 30 seconds on the Berserk timer. Rayleigh will utilize Shani to enter 700x by 14 minutes. If players fail to enter 700x after a full meter mech with Shani, the party probably has a low DPS or they face some difficult patterns. For 700x, expected stagger will be around average of 7,500 per person. Upon successful stagger check, players will have to enter the safe zone. Players will reference the map to each quadrant 12, 3, 6, and 9 and type plus or minus. At 500x, players will type their safe spot during the cutscene. Supports will immediately use the T skill and DPS will use Hyper Awakening. Following, players will check if they have the arrow indicator above their head. Those who don't have the indicators will push DPS, while 3 players who have the indicator will check for the floor around the boss. The floor indicator lights up with blue puddle and the matching player will quickly ping their spot. Immediately, players will run to the edge of the safe spot and check for the perfect guard. The guard timing is fairly slow, so wait until the indicator disappears to press the guard. After 2 sets of red explosions, 2 players will counter the boss and the second arrow indicator will glow. Those who countered will leave the puddle near the first safe spot. Then everyone will move to the second safe spot and check for the guard. Here, since the second safe spot was far away from the first safe spot, we just put the puddle down at 3. Again, 2 sets of red indicators explode and then go up counter, and the third blue puddle indicator will glow. If a party has around 4k combat power, players can ignore the third safe spot and push DPS through the shield. If players enter back to the ground around 6 minutes in the Berserk timer, they are on track to clear the boss. If it is around 5 minutes, it means players cannot fail at any perfect guard at the full meter mech. Kazeros strikes in black color and the puddle follows the player, reversing the direction of the mouse. Players often fail to dodge pizza due to this reverse, so keep the mouse reverse in mind. As mentioned before, Rayleigh will use Shani at full meter mech. It is best to use closest to the 700x as it will allow to push more damage. And pushing to 660 will allow players to enter the clash faster, meaning faster to push to 500x. 700x stagger check refunds 2 Sidereal meters, so Rayleigh will use Shani once more during the 660 clash. At 500x, Rayleigh will use Ninave +1 to push through DPS checks. The last Sidereal will be the Hidden Way. Unlike hard mode, there will be no checkpoint in Gate 2 for revive and additional battle items. Therefore, players will bring Dark, Splendid Sacred Bomb, and Time Stop. During 2-1, only one person will use Dark. The rest of the players will save their Darks for 2-2 and 2-3. Players will throw Dark during Encounter, Boulder, and last one during the Donut Clash. Unlike hard mode, the last pizza explosion one-shots the players. Therefore, it is safe to use auto attacks looking away from the center to stay near the edge. Similar to a hard mode, players will have to group up at the front to perform stagger checks. However, upon successful stagger, players will have individual blue puddles. Wait for the blue indicator and dodge to the side, and group up tightly near Kazeros' head to stagger. Donuts will show up around the players and players will push stagger to get the clash. If stagger is not fast enough, additional telekinesis puddles will show up trolling the players. Upon successful pass on the mech, hug the boss to dodge the start. Then similar to hard mode, dodge the blue puddles while riding the tornado. This is one of the hardest mech to pass for 2-1 since there will be more blue puddles. For TFM, any player who clashes gets a debuff so they can't use any skills including Just Guard. Since players can only Just Guard once, Party 1 will guard the first one and the Party 2 will guard the second one. Unlike hard mode, players will get Devil's 10 debuff upon last landing. Players will move out and in to dodge. There is no checkpoint for change, battle items, or engravings, therefore players should utilize Awakening to gain an identity meter. Take this opportunity to communicate dark rotations and main counters for Surrender, Hyper Awakening DPS for 300x, and Sacrifice. For common patterns, it is ideal to just dodge Kaisa and Fast Guard X2. It is best to walk out of the range of these patterns since it can lead to numerous unfortunate accidents. Unlike hard mode, which is a guaranteed counter guard, guard counter guard counter, TFM has an additional variation, which is guard counter guard counter 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 and guard, followed by the code counter. As a review, counter counter guard, guard counter counter checks while moving towards left, guard counter 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 guard checks while moving towards right. Unlike hard mode, which checks for 2 co-op counters, in TFM 3 players will have to perform co-op counters to pass through the control mech. While everyone will group up at the boss's back, check debuff to identify the target. Only those with debuffs should group up, and rest will stay away so those performing the mech can get support's Awakening, and DR to tank the damage, and aggro to hold to the 12. The clones hurt a lot, so keep that in mind. Unlike hard mode, the counter clone will knock players down, so players will have to use spacebar or push immune skills to dodge the initial dash. And remember, counter check locks the direction, and guard check will turn the aggro to the player. During Tornado, Kazeros will generate the blue puddle. When inflicted, he'll grab you to the center. During the clone mech, Kazeros will generate a line that rotates, jailing the inflicted players. Therefore, it is ideal to group up, and players will use Splendid Sacred Bombs or spacebar to avoid getting jailed. For the war counter, Kazeros will perform Medusa, where if it is yellow, players will look. If it's black, players will look away from the Kazeros. Then Kazeros will dash to check for a counter looking at the wall. Rayleigh will use Shiny +1 during the Boulder mech. Depending on the DPS of the party, players can use Inanna at Desert or use Hidden Kadon when the boss's HP is 100 or lower. During 2-2 and 2-3, we'll use DPS Armand. Check the Sidereal meter at 500x. If there are 4 bars, use DPS Armand +1. If there are only 3, it means the party's DPS is pretty fast. A little tip here, if the player cut DPS to charge meter up to around 80% and watch the entire cutscene, flow meter mech will begin immediately upon entering 2-3. Then Rayleigh can guarantee landing DPS Armand, and by doing this, players can see time attack and sacrifice faster, pushing Spotlight mech further away, avoiding unfortunate accidents. For time attack, use DPS Armand and +1 if available. Then use Hidden Armand at the end to clear. Do not save Armand if the party is close to seeing Berserk. I suggest reviewing the yellow black pizza mech, as oftentimes players will use Armand to push damage and will not have Hidden at the end. And that's it. Just a reminder, TFM is a very hard raid that will require lots of time and energy. Oftentimes, you may be mad at your teammates or even yourself. But again, because of these struggles and challenges we overcome as a group, the moment of clearing the raid will be sweeter than any other raids. Try to understand each other, be patient, and I really wish all of you guys best of luck to clear the raid. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys soon with more content. Thank you guys! Oh my god! Guys, we cleared!